How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be going over object source lighting, otherwise known as OSL. So OSL, or object source lighting, is big in the miniature community and used on a lot of miniatures for gaming. So object source lighting is essentially how light travels from a certain source onto an object. So basically, if you were to take a light and shine it down on an object, you would see everything from its brightest point all the way filtered through the object, where you'll see partial light, shadows, and to where the light actually exits the object. So today I wanted to see how we could transfer this process over to 3D printed statues. So the model that I picked for this test is straight out from the new Doctor Strange movie that's coming out in a couple of months, the Multiverse of Madness. And that's none other than the Scarlet Witch. So I thought this model would be perfect. It's an old file from a long time ago that I just now decided to print. So this is the comic style Scarlet Witch, and I wanted to do something a little bit different as far as paint scheme. And so I decided to use this glow effect. So in today's video, I'm going to walk through that as well as the build and the paint up. So one of the obstacles to overcome when you have a statue that has multiple pieces that fit together and they really don't have any keys or any slots for them to go in, such as this cape here, is just to make sure everything lines up right and taking your time with it. Like these two pieces right here, I got together okay. There is going to be some filling that I have to do on that seam right there, but it's not that bad. I was very fortunate enough to get this to where it actually fits together correctly. And really good. And the only problem that I have is down here. I can use a little bit of Avez epoxy, but again, I don't recommend using super glue for this part right here. Use some part of 2-part epoxy, because this is kind of a heavy piece and it's going to have to go together and stay together, and I think super glue is just not going to be strong enough to bond it. All right, so what the plan is here on I did the hair in a burnt red, and then I'm going to put a black wash in it, and then I'm going to go over it with a lighter red to bring out some highlights, and then do some deep shading in some of the lower parts of the hair. And then what I'm going to do is the same burnt red that I used here, I'm actually going to go around here around the brow of the mask. And then eventually what I want to do is I want to give it a glowing effect out of the eyes with a bright red. And you'll see what I'm talking about a little bit later on as we get closer to that part. And then on the torso here, I've actually finished painting the skin tones. Let me back up here a little bit. On this part, and then also on the edges right here, I'm going to do the similar burnt red. And then instead of the normal Scarlet Witch costume down here where you have the lighter pinkish red, this is going to be black. And then the glove up here on the arm, I think I'm going to do that one black as well. And then, of course, do the glove here and the suit red. And then the cape will be red, and then I'll do some shading and stuff inside here. And then I've already got the legs painted, and I'll shade those. But then we'll put these on here, and we'll do some shading on the boots, and then I'll attach it to the base, and we'll be all done. So this here I actually printed in a clear red resin. It's already been washed and cured, and then what I will do is I'll attach it to the hand, and then I'm going to hit it with some gloss and then brighten it back up. What I'm doing now is I'm actually using this burnt red on top of the cuff of the boot to kind of give it a little bit of contrast to it as much as I can, because they're both pretty bright colors. So what I think I'm going to do is on the top of the cuff right here, I'm actually going to put a black line down there, kind of separating the two colors, and that way it kind of breaks it up a little bit. And just kind of makes it stand out a little bit more. And here's the other boot. So I think I'm going to use this ink right here to put that line on the top of the cuff of the boot. All right, and here we go with the other boot. Okay, everybody, I decided to go and mask this off and just spray paint it a flat red, simply because I just wasn't happy the way the brush strokes were looking. It just looked very sloppy, and so I just made the decision to go ahead and mask everything off. I hate masking, and but it's much smoother transition, and what I'll do is just go back in and hand paint the hair back again and just kind of start back over on that. Sometimes you got to do that in order to accomplish what you're trying to get to, but I like this much better. From the video, it looks like it's an orange only because it hasn't been sealed yet. What I'm getting ready to do next is I'm getting ready to go and do some shading on the cape and on the torso, and then I'll go ahead and excuse me, and then I'll go ahead and I'll do the gloves on the other side, underside there, and paint the accents back again and see how it turns out this time. So rather than show you what I did, I'll explain to you what I did on Scarlet Witch. So what I did was I used the light source from her eyes and also from this flaming ball or magic sphere or whatever. And what I did is I perceived the light from her eyes kind of reflects on her sleeve and on her glove, and then a little bit down on the top part of the cape. And then from this flash or magic ball or whatever, you'll see that the light source from that reflects all the way up onto the cape up here, and even as well as part of her hair. And that's the perception of how this light source shines. And sometimes it works better on a different color, like maybe a green or a yellow, a little bit of a flashier color. But in this case, because it being red, it kind of blends in a little bit more than what I would want it to, but you kind of get the idea. And the other thing that I did was I just put like a white in her eyes. I thought I was filming it earlier, but apparently I wasn't. And the way that you achieve that, like if you're trying to get into close to an object to paint very, very fine lines or fine parts, take the tip of your airbrush off and expose the needle, and that allows you to get a little closer so you can do fine detail work. That's just kind of a little heads up. So that's it, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to like the video and consider subscribing. You can also go one step further and get in on our Patreon. So I do appreciate you guys supporting the channel this past year, even if it's only been just a few months. I do have some big plans for next year, as well as some new things that we're going to try with the channel. So again, thanks for everything, everybody. Have a happy holiday, and we'll see you very, very soon with the next video. Thank you.